You're tuning in to the Bueno Power Hour podcast. Hey guys, welcome to another episode of the Bueno Power Hour podcast. I am your host, Arthur Bueno, and we are going to be doing another Let's Talk episode today. I've been trying to sort of gather around all these artists to interview, and haven't really had any luck because of scheduling and whatnot, and so I've been meaning to get these folks in as soon as I can to actually start queuing up for the summer and the fall, and just have these conversations with these folks. I think it's good that I'm doing every 2 weeks on these podcasts, and it allows me to be able to, I guess, get prepared for each interview one at a time, and also just have something sort of released every other week consistently. I've been wanting to do that a lot more as of late, but having these schedules with folks have been pretty difficult, and some of them haven't really had much time to do anything because of graduation or work. And some of them just didn't really, reply back, unfortunately, and it sucks. So there's still going to be episodes, hopefully every other week, but I'm gonna have to just sort of take a turn and figure out new concepts for this podcast, and sort of think about what I should be talking about each episode. But for now, we're doing a Let's Talk, and so this is one of the segments that usually just has me talk about what's been going on and what I've been up to lately. And since I don't vlog anymore, and I've already stated that, this is actually kind of a good outlet for me to sort of just speak about what's been going on and what I plan on doing for the next few months, I guess. So here we go. Guys, welcome to another Let's Talk episode. I gotta tell you, Polar Seltzer, blueberry tangerine, not bad. Something that you should definitely pick up for sure. Okay, all right. So here we are, new episode, and there's a couple of things I wanted to talk about. Really, it has been pretty busy in my end, and it's kind of a good thing. I mean, over the last few weeks, I've been trying to fight off that stupid cough, and I think more so than ever, I've triumphed. But I noticed that I had to take allergy pills for my wheezing. It's because of the stupid pollen. It's making my breathing kind of weird, and every morning I have to take it just to make sure that wheezing goes away. I can't really... there's nothing really else to do about it. If I go to the doctor, I don't know if they'll prescribe me an inhaler, and I don't really feel comfortable about that. It's kind of stupid for me to be talking about this kind of stuff. I should be consulting to a doctor, but so far this method has been working. I don't know how long it's going to last, unfortunately. But above all, there's been lots of pollen falling, or sweeping, rather, or floating in the cities and the towns, and it's been making me slightly miserable and making everybody else slightly miserable. But I guess that's kind of what you get when it rains for a good amount of days, and you just have all this beautiful greenery, these plants, these trees, just sprouting everywhere. And the landscape is beautiful. I'll tell you this, Connecticut really has a beautiful landscape, and that's something that I don't want to take for granted. We don't really have good weather like this as much as other states, California especially, when it's always hot and there's good chances of storms. And that, from what I understand, there has been quite a bit of rain coming around, and I like that. I like the fact that that's what California needs. It's been dry for so long that it needs some more moisture, some wetness, guys. But it's been good, especially this past weekend. As I recorded, this Memorial Day, and happy Memorial Day, everybody. By the way, yeah, it's been very, very nice, and especially today. Yesterday was pretty hot. It was like only 80 degrees, and it's just like, Jesus. When I was in California, it would be like 90 to 100 degrees, and I still can't believe that I was able to take it. You know what I mean? Just couldn't believe it. But anyway, so want to sort of just talk about some of the things that have been going on, and being able to, for the most part, triumph over the bronchitis that I had for about almost a month. There hasn't really been anything else in the health spectrum. Just trying to keep myself healthy, but I'm here eating Samoas and drinking seltzers, so I shouldn't be buying these Girl Scout cookies, man. They're good, but I hardly eat them, and that's kind of a problem. They just sit there in my room, and they just don't get eaten, unfortunately. But anyway, so video games. Let's actually talk about that. And there's been quite a bit of things I've been wanting to talk about in the video game world, and I think that's also going to be an addition to this podcast that I wanted to add. And I was hoping to talk to some folks about that. There's quite a bit of FGC, fighter game community, participants, professional players that I've been wanting to interview for a while, and one in particular is still kind of working on, but I think he's going to be busy for the next few weeks. So there's going to definitely be an addition to the Bueno Power Hour podcast where there's video games, there's music, and there's photography. I don't know how I ended up adding this element to it, but it's okay. I mean, I can't be doing music and photography forever, and I have to actually add something in there. This is my interest, right? You want to talk about your interests, you want to talk about things that you like to do, and these are kind of the three things I like to do. Food as well. I mean, I may even put a food edition to the podcast, and just really talk about those kinds of things that I'm very much interested in. So, of course, video games. It's a subject that there's a lot of podcasts about it. But then one thing that I'm wanting to talk about is really the additions that I have, or soon to be additions I'm gonna have with these controllers and that I own. One of them, the Conva drone, I wanted to actually, instead of having a keypad layout of the Conva drone, I've been wanting to actually implement the same format but using buttons instead of a Cherry MX switches computer-like type of layout. And the reason for this is because I think that my fingers need a little bit more room to move around. It still feels a little bit bunched up, grabbing those keys, and obviously the inputs so far as of late, as I've been playing all these fighting games, have been pretty sauce. I've been able to execute most of the moves that I would never have thought I would be able to execute. And yeah, that's sort of a testament of my love for the unit itself. I'm trying to find different avenues to sort of work on this layout and seeing how well it receives on my hand. I have carpal tunnel, and I know that, you know, if I don't take care of it, or if I don't do certain things with my hands, I'm gonna have quite a bit of trouble in the long run. So I've been thinking about doing the button route. There have been one specific website called altfightsticks.com. They actually have a what do you call this? A housing for this layout. I don't know what the term I'm thinking of right now. Not housing. It's a different term. But yeah, that's probably the best thing best way I can describe it is just the housing for a fight stick that you want to create. And so it has that WASD Mixbox layout, but for buttons instead of just the keypad itself. And they do have the keypad versions of it too, but for me, I've been wanting to do the button layout, and I think that on my combo drone, I'm gonna actually convert that. I'm gonna convert into more of a button layout style. But so, if any of you guys are familiar with the Hitbox controller, the Hitbox controller is certainly the reason why I have been kind of curious about just stickless type of arcade sticks. And I've been very much curious about it because it's one of those things that I don't know. I guess that I've been able to kind of execute all these moves and been trying to figure out what fighting games would go good with what, and it's been kind of cool. And it's been kind of cool to be able to kind of play with this layout. Because of the Hitbox and because of the Mixbox, I actually started playing fighting games again. That's why I opened up that Fightcade or Bueno Power Fight Hour segment on my channel, my YouTube channel. But yeah, so back to what I was saying, the Hitbox. Okay, so I wanted to actually implement both a Mixbox and a Hitbox. And if you guys don't know what a Mixbox is, look it up. It's basically a WASD directional keypad layout instead of using a joystick, and you have, you know, your square, triangle, X, circle, R1, R2, L2 buttons on the right side of your hand. And they actually do a left-handed version of it. It actually, Mixbox Arcade, or I think it's a Hitbox or a Mixbox. I think it's Hitbox.com, hitboxarcade.com, and I'm not even sure. I actually have this layout, and they also do the keyboard layout as well. Well, and look that up. Basically, what I wanted to do is I wanted to have that button layout of the WASD Mixbox layout, but adding the additional button on the bottom, just like the Hitbox layout. And if you ever see those two and actually just combine them together, but all buttons, that's kind of what I wanted to do. I wanted to kind of convert my fight stick to have that quality or that control. And the only reason why is because if I wanted to play with a Zangief of some sort, I have the opportunity to use that button to do Gief's full circle motions with that. It's really hard, definitely really hard to do that with just the Mixbox alone, and kind of taxing on your hand if you're not very quick. Those circular motions do not feel natural, and you probably have to use two hands for that kind of technique. It's unfortunate, you know what I'm saying? But what's stopping me or what's making me kind of concerned about converting to this format is the legality. If I the legality of it. So if tournament promoters wouldn't allow this, if I were to like, I don't know, if I were to bring this stick to a tournament and they said no, we can't have that, we have to inspect this, I'm kind of screwed, I'm fucked. But how often do I go to tournaments, and how often do I have the chance to go to tournaments that I want to go to? At least at this time, I don't really have time to go to any of them, really. So it's kind of stopping me from doing that and kind of sticking to that just button layout thing. But I might just do it. And here's why. It's been sort of an issue. And there's actually a Kotaku interview about it. Let me see if I can hit Hitbox controller. So it's been brought up on Kotaku and also eventhubs.com. If you guys ever get a chance to check out those websites, do so, because Kotaku kind of just updates you on kind of the latest what's been going on in the video game world. Event Hubs is really strictly for fighting games. Let me see if I can bring this up because it actually just closed up here. So there was actually some concerns about the unit, especially with Daigos. Let's see, Kotaku Daigo Hitbox. There you go. All right. So let's actually go to the one in Kotaku because it actually has a update on it that I actually wanted to talk about. So Daigo's new controller causes a stir in the fighting game community. Daigo is not my favorite player, but I definitely am a big fan of what he's been showing online in his Twitch channel. There's actually been some fan translation as of late, kind of talking about this controller specifically. So this specific controller that Daigo is using, he actually has this controller called the Gafro Hitbox. The Gafro Hitbox is like the regular Hitbox controllers that you would see online, but it has a couple of extra buttons here that that's kind of that's raising a lot of concerns for players here. Let me see if I can find the layout of it. So for the hitbox that he has, okay, and let me see if I can read this article here about it. So Daigo Umehara is arguably the most popular fighting game player of all time. As such, eyes are always blah 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 blah. Okay. Okay. Then when the hitbox controllers, so you're gonna turn. Okay. So let's see if I can get the nitty gritty of this here. Okay. Let's just kind of just go from the jump. Hitbox controllers are named for Hitbox, the company that first made them popular over almost a decade ago. Instead of using a regular joystick, Hitbox peripherals handle directional inputs with the same buttons that perform attacks. Gives users a better handle on their movement thanks to the quality micro switches found on normal arcade stick buttons, as well as easier and faster way to execute complex inputs. Like a Z-shaped dragon punch motion as commonly in many fighting games. The Smash community, because they actually have a controller for the Smash Brothers community, had a hard time coming to grips with these units because the debate still rages on whether if they are fair or make the game too easy compared to the traditional controller. Most of the wider fighting game community has accepted these controllers as legitimate competitive tools. some more begrudgingly than others for years. That doesn't mean it's an easy journey, however. When the Hitbox controllers first started gaining prominence, they were regarded as best as shortcuts to pulling off fighting game moves that normally took time to practice at home. Or practice to hone. At worst, use of these controllers were deemed outright cheating. It didn't help matters when games like Marvel vs. Capcom 3 were discovered to handle simultaneous opposite cardinal direction inputs, otherwise known as SOCDs, in such a way that players who used hitbox controllers could block in both directions at once, essentially eliminating the dangers of mix-ups and cross-ups. SOCD is a term that pops a lot when you're researching hitboxes. While these types of inputs aren't unique to the button-based controllers, PS4's DualShock controller, for instance, can perform the same technique by using a D-pad and thumbstick in conjunction. They do diverge from what's possible in the fighting game community's most universally accepted peripheral, standard arcade stick. So SOCDs is something that is common for a unit like this. So basically, what they were talking about is that so if you hold left and right, from what I understand, having an SOCD cleaner, what it will do is it will actually just put that person to neutral, or put that player in neutral. If you hold up and down simultaneously, it will just have the player just jump. And the reason for this is because there's certain inputs. Because of this, it's pretty complicated from what I understand. Certain inputs upon execution allows a player to, say, like if they're doing a guile, using a guile player, the directional input is charging back and pressing forward, and then a punch. Basically, with this unit, you're able to actually spam this projectile, and it could be hard for the other player that's a fighter, a thumb, a regular like a hand controller or a fight stick, to be able to avoid those spams of the projectile. So what's been going on is that there's this unit called the Gafro Hitbox, which is a hitbox but with extra buttons that allow you to kind of do even more executions easily. Let's see if they have the layout here. Buttons. I don't know if they're gonna show it, because the one I'm seeing right now is in Japanese, unfortunately. And it sucks because I can't find it, but basically there's an extra input for the left and right directions in the middle of the stick. And let me see if I find more of that. Yeah, and it's really interesting because Daigo was actually going to play this at Combo Breaker, which happened just this past weekend. And unfortunately, at around 12 p.m., the people who run that tournament for SF5, unfortunately, decided not to have him use that unit. Here we go. Okay, I found it. So there's a left, down, right, obviously on the left side of the controller. Then there's an up direction for your left thumb. But there's also another left and right button on the middle of it. You also have a square, triangle, X, circle, R1, R2, L1, L2. This, that same format. But on the top has a circle and an R2 and an L3, and then the rest is like just the start and option buttons and whatnot. So it's strange because this is actually a controller that Daigo has been using for quite a while, and it's so complex looking. Oh my god, it's crazy. But it allows him the advantage to play with charge characters and other players, and to be able to kind of get some sort of a against any stick player, and they decided to ban this. And so this is probably one of the reasons why I'm kind of not really wanting to make the jump on doing this yet, just because it might it might be illegal for me to bring this to a you know, a tournament. So yeah, so wow, you know, I didn't think I was actually gonna talk about that quite a bit, but yeah, this is sort of a thing that I've been considering for a while, because it's just cool. I think it's a cool concept, and you know, it's gonna take a long time for anybody, especially tournament organizers, to come to grips with this unit and this format. And I mean, you know, these are just tools, and you know, I'm sure that, you know, a pad player can do the same thing. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, it's a little interesting. I'm kind of excited to see what's gonna happen. You know, after a high profile player like Daigo represented this unit to the fighting game community. It's been crazy news, and it's kind of exciting. So I might even make the jump just because of that, actually. So anyway, other than that, you know, I haven't really done anything else but play fighting games, and just making these videos and sort of exploring these games with this unit to seeing if they play better or not. I did, however, buy another fight stick. Actually, I have it on my hand. I'm kind of just looking at it and observing it. And it's I actually got a chance to purchase the Sega Virtua Stick, which is the fight stick for the Sega Saturn. The model is the HSS0136, and it's cool, man. This fight stick is pretty cool. I'm actually thinking about converting the stick into the WASD format. And this is the reason why I wanted to kind of convert my Conma drone, just because I wanted to actually use the WSD unit to put on here, on this fight stick that I have in my hand, and actually play Sega Saturn games with it. I don't know. I'm still thinking about it, seeing what I should do with it. Maybe I should just keep it as just a stick, just to have. That's one of the purchases that I made. I actually got a chance to play some Street Fighter or Pocket Fighter on the Sega Saturn, and it's been a lot of fun playing it, to be honest. It's something that I've been really hoping to get for the last year of since having this Sega Saturn. I haven't had a chance to even fucking touch it. You know what I'm saying? Alas. Wow. That was actually a lot of fun to talk about. So that was one of the things that I've been doing as of late. This past weekend, I had been asked to photograph a wedding on Sunday, actually yesterday, as I record this. And it was a white trash wedding. That was actually the theme. You got to look white trash. And you know, it was cool for what it was. You know what I mean? It was cool, but it was so unorganized. And unfortunately, that's something that I'm big into organization when it comes to functions like that. But it wasn't my wedding. And I had to respect that. I had to respect the people organizing this, and you know, having a wedding, you definitely want to put it to your liking and do something, you know, fun. And they had a lot of fun, I tell you that. Lots of good old fashioned white people, and then a few Asians there. Though I did accept this gig just for the fact that you know, they were my girlfriend's family's, father and soon to be mother. I don't know how that all worked out, but yeah, I did it out of a donation um, type of service. Still worked like if I was making like $1,000, and I have been doing this donation type of incentive when it comes to photography. Every time any person had asked me about uh, if they wanted pictures from me. And I think the reason why is because at this point, I've been kind of understanding that these types of services are so expensive, and there are people who don't really have that much money that want pictures, that want to get pictures taken. And so, the only kind of equipment that I have is my Fuji X100T, which, by the way, definitely championed for this specific event. It championed pretty well. Being able to kind of focus on some of the subjects that I've wanted to focus on. I really haven't had any problems with it. I was able to kind of photograph everything in it that I needed to photograph. And my cap is usually $75 for doing things like these. But I would ask them, hey, I'm doing this as a donation incentive. My cap is $75, but if you can't afford the $75, you can, pay me whatever price you think you can afford or you think is worth it. And I think it's kind of fair for these individuals to be able to have that opportunity to be able to pay whatever they want and to be able to have that opportunity to pay whatever price they can afford. And once again, I guess it's just sort of a punk rock type of relationship that I have with these folks. You know what I mean? I do this because I know that they need this stuff. They need these services. They want these memories. They want these memories recorded. And that's really where it comes down to, you know what I'm saying? It comes down to that, where I think that they need somebody that does good work, or decent work at least, for an affordable price. And that's where I come in. I've actually had the idea of doing this for low-income folks. And that's kind of what, not to say that these folks were low income. No, not at all. But at the time of their life, they just don't really have that kind of money right now. And I am looking for people who, I'm reaching out to people who need these services at an affordable price. And it's kind of an interesting study of some sort too, because the quality that you create may be a lot more than what you get paid for. And this is almost as if any kind of job that you take, as far as I don't know, food service or whatever, this is almost the same thing, you give a lot and you get a little. But I'm not doing it for the money. It's not necessarily that. I'm doing it because these people need someone like myself to be able to have some sort of memory recorded. And I guess for me, I can kind of afford to do that. I can afford to do those types of services for these people. And I'm more than willing to do so, just because people need photographs. They think they don't, but they do. And so and I'm just looking at these images right now on my computer, and yeah, it's just kind of just like strange looking at this stuff, seeing how everything was set up and how much work I put into it. The photographs did come out really good, actually. It's pretty strange. But yeah, of course, I had a lot of fun, had a good time, took pictures of these folks, and they really had a great time, with their friends and family, being able to hang out and stuff. And again, that's all it matters. That's all it freaking matters, is those memories. And I'd do it again. To be honest, I would do it again. Just to be able to have that opportunity to see how just to kind of like relive that experience and seeing if I can do the images a lot better, if I had better angles of doing certain things here and there. And I came in there as a documentary photographer, not a wedding photographer, for this event, just looking at these images now. Yeah, I'm sorry, I'm kind of just ranting right now, but this is kind of cool, just looking at this and seeing the results of it and seeing the power of my camera, being able to kind of figure out what works and what doesn't work. And yeah, it's quite a scene looking at these images. It really is, man. It really is. But yeah, photographing was kind of cool this time around, and being able to kind of see the results of these folks, being able to kind of enjoy two lovers spiritually be together. And it was cool. It was a lot of fun. Really hot too. Really, really, really hot too. So I'm gonna be actually doing my best to sort of fixing these images in the next few days and seeing if I can get this knocked out, and hopefully we can get this out the door by Friday, depending on how much time I have with these folks and seeing what else needs to be done and whatnot. But I don't think I only did about 360 something pictures this wedding, and came out fine. We did it. And so yeah, I mean, other than that, a lot of video gaming, not much music. Yeah, and it was lots of, oh my god, lots of ridiculous eats too. Eating a bunch of shit. But I don't know. I don't know what else to talk about, really. Yeah, I know it's just me blabbing around, but I figured if anybody's out there listening, I really appreciate you hearing me talk about nothing. But I should start organizing these podcasts and these episodes and seeing what I can talk about in the next episode if I don't have a person to interview. And yeah, I'll lay down some things and start sort of organizing all this. And it was kind of cool to kind of talk about the fight stick drama that Daigo had, and it was kind of fun to talk about the wedding that I did. I tell you this, man, it wasn't really organized. It was not organized, so we all had to kind of just figure it all out right from the start. So, but that's what happens. That's what usually happens in events like these. But maybe I can go into detail with that later and figure it all out. But anyway, that does it for this episode of the Bueno Power Hour podcast. Guys, thank you very much for listening in. If you want more of these episodes, go and hit that subscribe button. If you like this episode, go ahead and hit that like button as well. It should have been all the other way around. Let me do that again. If you like this episode, go ahead and hit that like button. And if you want videos like this every week or every other week, if you want to get those, Fight Hour episodes in on your feed, go ahead and hit that subscribe button. And as always, guys, thank you very much for tuning in. Until next time, have a good one.